Nirmal, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dadia. We have with us Mr. Kalpathi Suresh, Executive Director cum Chairman at Veranda Learning Solutions, joining in. Welcome to the show, Mr. Suresh, and a pleasure to speak to you, and congratulations for achieving this milestone as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Suresh, my first question coming to you over here is, overall, if you could just first highlight all the details of the IPO and what is it that brought us to this stage to think of actually going public?
Veranda Learning Solutions is an education hybrid organization. That what I mean is that from the founding philosophy of the company, we are available with all our programs in both online digital formats. We are also available in offline hybrid format.
If I may just interrupt, your audio is getting very low.
Is it better now?
Yeah, better
now. Veranda Learning Solution is an education company that delivers its program on both online and offline hybrid formats. So we are ground up a hybrid education, and that's part of our founding philosophy. The second aspect that differentiates us is we believe in 3 core principles, and some of that has got a leaning towards my own personal upbringing and experience, is to deliver very high quality programs at prices that are affordable to what I call as the real India, and to ensure that these programs deliver significant outcomes. We are coming out with an IPO for about 200 crores, expected to open on March 29th, closing on March 31st. A significant part of those proceeds will be used for driving our growth going forward. Veranda Learning exists currently in 4 different verticals. The first one caters to state and central government exams in multiple vernaculars in India. We exist to provide education for CA Inter-Finals and CA Foundation programs, in UPSC for IAS prelims, finals, and mock interviews, and in the software upskilling space with over 100 programs that are delivered in high-end software education. The proceeds will be used to invest into growth on some of and spread across the country over the next 3 to 5 years.
Right. So overall, when we say it is a hybrid learning platform as well, how has the transition been over the last 12 to 18 months? Because this has been a pivotal time where everyone was talking about digital education, virtual schooling, and this came in as a catalyst to assist NEP 2020 as well. So how do you see this entire transition phase in terms of your business strategy?
I think online education has always been in the making. A significant part of that got accelerated due to the lockdowns that happened due to the widespread of COVID. The availability of cheap devices, the availability of bandwidth at very affordable prices have also been key factors that brought online education to the fore. It has also brought in an ability to leverage on technology to make a number of these programs affordable. It has also created a platform where we could take this deep into the country, into the tier 3 and tier 4 towns of India. As we start moving back to a level of normalcy, one expects people to start going back and looking at the offline education formats. And as I mentioned, our philosophy is to be available in all channels, and the customer would essentially make the choice as to what they believe is best for them to do. What we have found is in intensive test prep type of preparatory platforms, customers the students and learners tend to look at offline hybrid formats, where it's a lot of upskilling, especially for people who are already working and looking at these programs to move up in their career. And online becomes an ideal option from a perspective of logistics and the availability of devices from which they can do these programs.
Right. So, Mr. Suresh, is it right to say that the solutions that we are providing is more towards higher secondary, higher ed, skilling and vocational, that side of the sector, and not really K-12?
So we exist across 4 different verticals. if you look at our CA foundation programs that are being targeted for people who are in the 11th and 12th, the state central government programs, test prep programs that we run is predominantly for students and learners who are in the second and third year of college, whether they are pursuing arts and sciences or engineering. Our software upskilling programs are predominantly for people who are in computer science, electronics, telecom, computer engineering type of students. The software upskilling programs, as I sort of want to detail, it exists really in three formats. One is a B2C, one is B2B, and we also offer postgraduate programs in association with leading universities like Purdue University or an NIT Warangal or an IIT Kanpur. On a B2C perspective, a lot of the students who take our programs are people who are already working professionals who are looking at career upskilling. From a B2B perspective, it is for a lot of the leading IT consulting companies in India. And with our offline hybrid formats that we expect to roll out, that will cater to kids who are in the second, third, and fourth year of college. It sort of helps them in their career development, getting the right type of job opportunities. And we expect to take this initiative into tier 3 and tier 4 towns.
Mr. Suresh, we were talking about the B2G model as well, if that would be needed to reach tier 3, tier 4 towns versus the B2C, B2B kind of arrangement that we're looking at right
now? I think there are 3-4 contributing reasons to it. The first is the skill gap that has emerged, especially in IT skills, top-end skills. For this to be met, anywhere between 5 to 6 million based on different publications. If this is going to be met, we need to be able to find talent, not just from the top 15, 20 tier 1 cities in India, but it has to go much deeper. Based on our own experience of having created earlier enterprises, where we had built networks which had over thousands of locations in India, many of them in tier 3 and tier 4 towns for the same software upskilling type of programs. In combination with what we have acquired in Edureka with over hundreds of high-end proven software training programs, we think we have set the stage right with the right combination to build some of the largest networks in India for software training. My guess is that is going to be required to be able to meet this demand. If 20 years ago, the demand of the IT consulting industry in terms of skills was 100,000 people or so, today, just across the top 2 companies in India, they have a requirement in excess of 100,000 every year. So this is going to be not just a veranda effect type of effort, but it's going to require a lot of other people to build some large networks. But penetration deep is required. From a B2G perspective, we are in consultation with many industry associations. We are working closely with many government bodies. We want to ensure in many sense to bring affordability back into education. My own humble beginnings, I came out of IIT Madras in the mid-80s, which used to be very highly subsidized. Even for that education, because I had passed certain exams, that was also paid for by the government. Given my humble background and family, I wouldn't have been here if education was not affordable to me at that time. As part of our core philosophy, we want to make this affordable. We are working with many bodies to ensure that we can drive that change. Some of our programs we are targeting is based on my own personal experience on what that affordability means to the real India. So we will take this deep with B2G where it makes sense. With our own experience of building large B2C networks, we will leverage on that significantly. But we will do our best to be able to meet the skill gap that's emerged.
So, Mr. Suresh, when you talk about affordability as well, how are we priced on an average for the courses, etc., that we offer versus competition?
I just wish competition was 1 or 2, but there are many players in this segment. Many of them have different flavors in which they offer these programs. My sense of affordability, and I can just give you some use cases, if you will. In my own experience over the last 4 or 5 years of having went to many towns in this country, looking at various education opportunities, uh, there are places in India where the annual tuition fee for a student going into school is less than 10,000. And that is also not very easily affordable in some of the small towns in India. So our programs are focused and driven by this philosophy that we want to democratize education. Uh, some of these programs, especially the top high-end programs, could set you back by a few lakhs of rupees in some of the offering. And I'm not commenting on the entire industry, but I'm saying from some of the things that I have seen, and that is beyond the affordability bracket of many people in India. Not that they can't understand, not that they can't become very high quality professionals, just that affordability is not there. And that, I think, is a change that we want to bring. And that's my personal drive too. Also from a perspective that especially in the IT consulting industry, compared to what it was before, the demand is not just from the IT consulting companies, but from health tech, from insurance tech to fintech. Everybody is looking for tech professionals. And with some of these banks and large institutions, their IT departments will rival the size of some of the biggest IT consulting companies themselves. So the demand is manifold. These numbers are only going to be met if a lot of the talent is going to come from the smaller towns of this country. They are people with brains. They just don't have the affordability. And that's something that we clearly plan to change. We did this before in our earlier avatar. We want to be able to do this again.
Right. So, Mr. Suresh, overall, between the different segments that we have in the education space, what's the revenue breakup currently looking like?
We have 4 verticals. One caters to state and central government exams. What used to be available in one language, Tamil. Today we have it across Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Hindi, English. So that's expanded our footprint. That's one of our key verticals. What we do with CA exams for foundation, inter and finals, and for UPSC for IAS prelims, finals and mock interviews are fledgling. They just have been kickstarted. So they are in some sense a lesser contributor to our growth. Our software vertical, post our acquisition of Brainforce in Bangalore, is the other driver. So our state central government exams, test prep platform that we are expanding with a national footprint, and with our software vertical where we are taking it apart from online also into an offline hybrid format across B2C, B2B and postgraduate programs. They are going to be our twin significant drivers. Investments have been made into these over the last 6-12 months, and we expect those benefits to start bearing in the next 3-4 years.
Right. And going ahead as well, is the growth strategy going to be more inorganic or organic? Because I do understand that you are looking to make a lot of acquisitions as well over the next 6 to 12 months. So what is the business strategy on that front?
As it always works is, we want to build this out organically. We have made investments in the verticals that we are currently involved in. If we should see anything that's opportunistic, we will be open in terms of expanding the size of offerings that we have without compromising on our core philosophy of keeping it high quality and affordable. So we will be open, but as I said, it would be opportunistic, depends on what we find. A couple of events that have sort of changed the landscape in some fashion is after COVID and the national lockdowns that have happened, there are businesses that have been impacted, which could not successfully sort of transition and create an online and an offline hybrid offering, who had continued to stay offline, who've been impacted significantly, not because of the quality of the education that they delivered, but their inability to adopt in real time. given our own background in terms of having built some of the best technologies in India earlier, for us, technology was not really a barrier as we looked at this space. So that has given us an edge. There are opportunities where there are organizations who have built decades of education pedigree, but it has to make sense. So we will keep our eyes open, but it has to make sense in terms of building shareholders' value if we look at those acquisitions.
Right. And overall, the government's move to allow private capital in the infrastructure, with that, you have the digital university, which has emerged as a game changer as well. How big a benefit do you see out of it?
I think the recent announcements of a digital university, I think, is a game changer. The NEP is a game changer. I think there is clearly a shift that is happening. And we see a lot of the moves being made by the government as extremely proactive. That is sort of setting the stage from a larger context of meeting the skills requirement that is going to emerge if India is going to meet its promised goal of becoming a multi-trillion-dollar economy. Personally, we are seeing it ourselves from our own recruitment of tech people, from our own ability to be able to keep those talents. We are seeing upticking of annual costs in terms of acquiring technology skills. I keep hearing this across not just technology, but even in some of the automobile sectors like EV, costs are ticking up, skills are not available. So this is very timely from the government, both in terms of the digital university and the NEP. And of course, the recent announcement that they have made of having a unified exam for central government run universities, I think also opens up a big opportunity for us.
Right. And overall, apart from all of this, another model that you operate as well is with your PDCs. What's the expansion plan on that front?
On the postgraduate programs, we today have programs that we have launched along with Purdue University. We have had programs with NIT Warangal and IITs in India. We plan to expand that portfolio in tie-up with strategic and prestigious universities, both in India and abroad. For us, it's an area of focus because it leverages on the same core competency and content that we already own. So for us, it is just one more channel. The opportunities are also emerging because most of the consulting companies are also wanting to sponsor some of their own employees to be able to acquire higher qualifications. So it improves the overall positioning of their people force. So even from a B2B perspective, there is demand that's emerging for postgraduate programs, apart from a B2C. Again, as I mentioned, we are always constantly looking at keeping some of these things affordable. I mean, that would be an underlying thought. We will keep it affordable. Our profits will come because, in India, from everything that I have seen from my own experience, if you price it right, you see the real volumes that India has always been promised for.
Right. And overall, in terms of, say, content generation, is everything owned or is it outsourced?
All these subject matters experts that we currently have are own.
Okay.
Some of the editorial skills we do take on contract basis because we don't need it all the time.
Right.
The core skills in terms of pedagogy, instruction design, the content frameworks are people who are permanent employees of this organization.
And very lastly, Mr. Suresh, in terms of the student count that we have, how many learners on our platform, if it's from a digital perspective and from a physical perspective as well, totally how many learners do we have currently?
I think given the lockdowns that have happened, we have a much higher percentage of students and learners who partake of our education in the online format. what we have seen as a phenomenon, as whenever the lockdowns have abated, in between the waves that have happened, there has been a move towards people looking at the offline format a bit more. So currently where we exist, we keep this swinging back and forth depending on where the lockdowns are. Whenever there is an abatement of these lockdowns and things open up, the offline starts picking up significantly. As I mentioned, we think it's a choice that the customer will make.
Correct.
We will make ourselves available in the most efficient, optimal form across all our products.
Right. And very lastly, any plans to get into any other emerging markets apart from India?
So we already exist in the software vertical, in the B2C space. A significant percentage of our students already come from Europe and North America. We will continue to grow that space into other markets and go very deep. From a B2B perspective, we do have footprint outside of India, but limited. We plan to expand that going into especially North America. Postgraduate programs, we'll expand it, especially with our recent offerings that we have announced with Purdue University and others. We expect to find a significant welcome for that in markets outside of India. So we will look at other geographies to expand, but we already exist in some of these geographies in a significant way already.
Right. All right, Mr. Suresh, thank you so much for getting us all the insights as well. Once again, congratulations and good luck for the IPO, and speak to you soon again. Stay safe.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.